Time now for CBS Sports Texas.
What you do and in cap management is you borrow money from your available dollars in the future to use it in current years.
I'm a gambling man. Will gamble on myself and my guys.
So many unknowns about how the players are going to perform, even if you know their names. I don't worry about contracts and incentive over in the coaching ranks.
It's like anything, the more you can do, maybe the longer they'll keep you around.
Welcome back to another edition of CBS Sports Texas. I'm Jett Beachum. It's just about that time again. In less than 3 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys kick off training camp in Oxnard, California, ahead of another season ripe with expectations. Most notably ending that 28-year conference championship drought, which is the second longest in the NFC. Those expectations have only been heightened given the chances the Cowboys have wasted the past 3 years. 3 straight 12-5 seasons. Dallas is the second only to Kansas City in the NFL over that span. The Chiefs have 9 playoff victories and 2 Super Bowl titles to their name since 2021. Meanwhile, the Cowboys, just a single playoff victory. Again, those best records there. The Cowboys won just down to the Chiefs. Now we welcome in Garrett Podell, again, of CBSSports.com, who is here to help us break this all down this offseason. And, of course, some things to look forward to this season. But speaking of breaking, or in this case, not broken, Cowboys fans got quite the scare this week on the 4th of July when a photo showing quarterback Dak Prescott in a walking boot surfaced online. There were conflicting reports about whether it was a right foot sprain or just general ankle soreness. Either way, it was deemed not serious, and clearly that was put to bed with Prescott sharing another photo today without the boot on. So consider Bootgate concluded.
Absolutely. I mean, after he had his ankle spun around in 2020, he's had maintenance done on that ankle, and that's, something where he's rotated between cleats or turf shoes during practices. So I don't see this as anything more than athletes take more precautions with their body than us regular folks.
Yeah, well, either way, it's going to be an important year for Dak, especially when it comes to staying injury-free and, of course, playing at that MVP level, especially because as Prescott heads into this season in the final year of his 4-year, $160 million contract he signed in 2021, Prescott, though, having no problem betting on himself.
This is the urgency you should always have, to be honest. So maybe guys who normally wouldn't feel it. So I don't mind it. Been in this position before. I'm a gambling man. Will gamble on myself and my guys. So my focus is always getting better overall in every way that I can, every aspect of my game, and making sure I push the other people around me. And the growth, I guess you can say, in my play and the jump I'm making is the second year in his offense as well, is being more comfortable right with the footwork. Guys, the receivers around me, their second year in it, they're more comfortable, they're more confident. Things are just faster off the line.
And again, no matter what you think Prescott is worth, this is what quarterbacks are worth. This is what the market dictates. This is what guys are worth. Trevor Lawrence getting that enormous deal this offseason, and other guys like Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Again, Garrett, you look at these deals that these quarterbacks have gotten in recent years and as early as this offseason. Dak Prescott's going to get paid no matter whether it's the Cowboys or another team this upcoming free agency.
Absolutely, Jeff. And based on his production, he 100% deserves that money, Jett, because ultimately he led the league in touchdowns, 36, first Cowboys quarterback ever to lead the NFL outright in passing touchdowns. And he's also the only quarterback in an 8-year span ever, Dak's only played 8 seasons, to throw for over 200 passing touchdowns and run for over 25 rushing touchdowns. So he has a body of work that says he is worth this money. Some people question Trevor Lawrence's merit on this list, but Dak certainly deserves it. And I've talked to Dak all throughout the offseason about this contract, and he said to me he wants to be here. He doesn't necessarily have to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, but he wants to be paid market value. There's not going to be a hometown discount. He just had his first child, a baby girl, a few months ago. He would like to maintain his roots here in North Texas, but Jerry's got to pay up.
Are you surprised the Cowboys didn't get this done already?
I'm incredibly surprised because Jerry Jones started this offseason saying he was all in. Well, if they wanted money to spend in free agency this offseason, they needed to reduce Dak's $55 million cap hit, which is the second highest in football behind only Deshaun Watson's $63 million hit. And so in order to do that, they should have extended him 4 or 5 year deal. They would have had more money to play with in free agency. And now they just have to sign him to hope the market doesn't jump again, like what happened when Trevor Lawrence signed that 5-year, $275 million deal we were looking at just a few minutes ago.
All right, well, he's not the only Cowboy that's looking for a payday. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, of course, missed the team's mandatory minicamp in June as he holds out for a new contract. And there's belief that that holdout will extend true training camp. Again, Lamb is scheduled to make $17.9 million this season in that fifth-year deal. But when you compare that to the recent deal struck by the NFL's best wide receivers, you really start to understand why. And again, coming off that year that CeeDee Lamb just had, he deserves that deal. 100%.
Led the league in catches, as you can see on the screen, 135. And he's really the only true dynamic wide receiver that this offense can rely on a consistent basis. Brandon Cooks had 8 touchdown catches last year, but week in and week out, CeeDee Lamb was the dependable factor in Dak Prescott's arsenal, and he's done more than enough at age 24, now 25, to merit the kind of money you see there. And that's another reason why Jerry should have gotten this done back in the spring, because as you can see there, Jerry said, I want to see some action. I want to see some leaves fall. Well, they fell, and with the most notable one being that one at the bottom, Justin Jefferson on June 3rd, signing a 4-year, $140 million contract with a record-topping number, $35 million per year. And, well, that's the average per year. Those first 2 years of his contract, he's only making $8 million against the cap, $15 million against the cap. So getting that deal done would have allowed Dallas, like Prescott, to have a lot more money to move around for free agency. And if they get it done now, they can at least start projecting a little bit more cap flexibility into future seasons.
Now, do you see CeeDee Lamb at least holding out into training camp? Do you think this deal gets done before the season gets started? Could we see a potential Zeke Elliott, holding out into the season?
I think Dallas has to get this deal done because, as I touched on a little earlier, Lamb is the engine of this passing game, and this offense is going to be more reliant than ever on the passing game because their running back room is Ezekiel Elliott, years removed from when he was the best running back in football in 2016, 17, 18. And Rico Dowdle was an undrafted free agent, kind of unproven guy. They lost Tony Pollard to the Tennessee Titans in free agency. So this is an offense that's going to rely more on the pass than ever before, and that starts with CeeDee Lamb.
All right, well, now despite Jerry Jones insisting that the Cowboys were all in on this upcoming year, of course, that hasn't exactly panned out in free agency acquisitions. Of course, that helps when the cap is not stretched. The Cowboys really only added 2 key pieces, again, reunited with running back Zeke Elliott and signing linebacker Eric Kendricks, who played under new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer. The rest are really just draft additions, Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, 2 guys who will likely be asked to start from day one on that offensive line. Meanwhile, of course, you see the losses. Tony Pollard, the biggest 2 along the line, though, Tyron Smith and Tyler Biadasz. And the Cowboys brass really signaling that they have guys that need to step up. But you look at those departures, big-time ones.
Absolutely, because Tyron Smith was the anchor of this offensive line for over a decade, really. I mean, 8 Pro Bowls, just someone who was a stalwart on that line. And now you have a rookie left tackle, likely a rookie center, as we saw on that graphic, and 8 departures in free agency from the Cowboys. It's tied for the 3rd most in any single offseason in franchise history. Just really highlighting, Jet, what you said. Yeah. This is a team relying more on youth than maybe ever before under Mike McCarthy.
And again, that's going to be hard. So who are some guys that are going to need to step up? Because it does feel that the Cowboys are going to need to rely on those, whether it's 2nd or 3rd year guys.
Absolutely. I think for me, you start with defensive tackle Mazi Smith. He was a 1st-round pick a couple years ago, and he just hasn't lived up to his draft status to this point. He only played 4 snaps in the playoff defeat against the Green Bay Packers last January, and, Dallas was thrashed on the ground by Aaron Jones, and that really set up the play-action passing game and Jordan Love going deep over and over again. So in order to fix that, you need more push up front. And Mike Zimmer told me he's going to have Smith return to more of a gap-plugging role instead of an upfield 3-tech, which is what he was under Dan Quinn. So maybe that's a role more like his Michigan role that could suit him in his long-term development.
And, of course, on offense, you're looking at, we mentioned the 2 offensive linemen. Again, but you also have a 2nd-year offensive lineman, and a guy like Tyler Smith that needs to step up as well, especially now that you have 2 young guys that now he has to step up as a leader more so than anything as well, correct?
100%, and his level did raise in 2023. He made the Pro Bowl for the first time in his career, and Pro Football Focus graded him as a top 10 offensive guard, 9th among those with at least 600 offensive snaps last year. But really, they need him to not only be a Pro Bowler, they need him to be an All-Pro, because they were used to All-Pro production on the left tackle spot with Tyron Smith. And now, to your point, Jett, he's going to have to not only raise his level, but raise the tide around him with Tyler Guyton and potentially Cooper Beebe, 2 rookies starting. So he's going to be tasked with a lot of the offensive line protection communication up front.
And how about a guy like DeMarvion Overshown? Again, it's not that he didn't have production because he got hurt, obviously, in the preseason. But this is someone that the Cowboys were really high on. Even Micah Parsons made it a point to shout this guy out in training camp last year. We didn't get to see him because of the ACL injury. But again, the Cowboys really high on this guy, and they have a need at that linebacker spot.
Absolutely. Micah Parsons, he interviewed Jordan Love on his podcast after they lost in the postseason, and Jordan Love said one of the big reasons we were able to beat you guys is because you're playing converted defensive backs at linebacker and we're thin up front, so their task and goal was to run the football. So having a body more built to defend against the run and really play that linebacker spot in Overshown, someone Dan Quinn a year ago was raving about on draft day, that's going to be tremendous in terms of the boost that they're going to get, along with Eric Kendricks in that area, especially after the retirement of Leighton Vander Esch.
And of course, all this to come to Mike McCarthy, who is also on a one-year deal, just like almost everybody in the Cowboys organization. What is it going to take for him to secure another contract with the Cowboys?
Well, the Cowboys pre-draft presser, they talked about the elephant in the room is the playoff success. So that, to me, says they want at least a conference championship game appearance. I mean, they're the only team ever to win 12 games 3 years in a row and not make a conference title game. So they really want to see that Final Four appearance soon to indicate that they can contend. That's what's going to take, in my opinion.
All righty, Garrett Podell, thank you so much. We'll have more coming up later in CBS Sports Texas, including more on the Mavs and more on the Rangers coming up next.